TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Top 1580, download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Moving Mountain Mondays with none other than Reverend Terry Hord Owens, General Minister and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada, an author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She is the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination. Since her election in 2017, Reverend Hord Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. In keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves in leadership at the National Council of Churches as the treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. Madam President, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Faith Not the Fall, on Moving Mountain Mondays.
Good afternoon, sir. Good to be with you.
It's always a pleasure, Madam President. Some really interesting news coming out of the Gates Foundation. Bill Gates has set a timeline and a time limit on the United States and the world within the next 5 years entering into a dark age. Mm-hmm. You can imagine the Dark Ages was a very, very difficult period for Christianity, for theology, and for world religious systems. Madam President, your thoughts on the prediction of Bill Gates?
Sadly, I think there is far too much truth in it. His own efforts have, for example, really reduced the threat of malaria in parts of the world that are underdeveloped economically. USAID, people talk about it being a form of soft power. It was one of the key agencies that our church's ministries worked with around the world. And it may have been December of 23, I guess it was. I spent a day in DC actually working with a lot of faith-based organizations and folks from USAID, kind of doing some lobbying around worldwide aid to Haiti, Sudan, Ethiopia, so many places where we are seeing children literally starving to death, where very simple things like a peanut paste, right, that just a few licks of that would be able to help nourish babies around the world. We do not prioritize being kind and saving the lives of humans around the world unless there is some sort of economic benefit to the United States. We talked last week about how, Marco Rubio even said, this is about America's interests first, and then the people of Venezuela. So we are willing to let people around the world die. Children in particular will be most impacted if the United States can't see its own economic interests being privileged. We've gone from understanding that our humanity to other humankind is one of the ways that we can even project and promote our own influence, to saying it's not worth the money. We need to send bombs and planes and ICE agents in order to establish who we are, and we no longer care about what's happening. I don't think we're too far from it.
Madam President, when you think about the 250-year anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and of course, the magnificent words Martin Luther King Jr. referred to, penmanship of Thomas Jefferson, that all men are created equal. And of course, Elizabeth Cady Stanton amends that language to say all men and women are created equal. And you look at the, if you will, the zenith of the American experiment with all that it's been through. Maybe the zenith is from 1954 to the election of Barack Obama. And now we're already talking about a dark age. I'm wondering in this moment, is a dark age avoidable, or is it, from your perspective, inevitable?
I don't think it's inevitable, but it will require a lot of us, a lot that we're really not used to giving. It will require a kind of coalescence, different kinds of coalitions than we're used to building, both those that have served us well in the past, but new kinds of coalitions. And it will require even the courage, I think, particularly of corporate interests. Bill Gates has been amazingly silent about the evil that we've been seeing coming out of the Trump administration, and he will talk about this impact of money around the world. But if he and other corporate leaders were to coalesce and to say that what we stand for, even as economic engines in this country, is that we want to have positive impacts on the communities that we serve. We want to have positive impacts on the communities around the world, because it's self-serving, really, to want a healthy world in order to build healthy world markets. But I don't see corporations being strong enough to come and say that. We have to shake up a lot of church folk, a lot of people of faith in all traditions who are afraid to speak out, saying, oh, the church shouldn't be involved in politics. We've got to build coalitions in a way we've never built them before.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Moving Mountain Mondays and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hord Owens. More coming forward on KBLA Talk 1580 with the President and General Minister of the Christian Church, the Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Looking for something new? Try fencing, the Olympic and Paralympic sport that mixes speed, strategy, and fun. It's like chess meets cardio. Quick feet, quick decisions, and a satisfying beat when you score a point. Kids, teens, and adults can start anytime. No experience needed, and many clubs have loaner gear. Coaches teach fundamentals and safety from day one. Find a beginner class near you at usafencing.org/tryfencing. That's usafencing.org/tryfencing.
Picture this, you're on a date and then bad breath happens. Confidence gone. Here's the truth. Most gums and mints are just bad breath Band-Aids, but not Zellman's Minty Mouth. The functional breath freshener you swallow. Tiny dual action capsules with mint on the outside, parsley seed oil inside, clinically tested to fight the toughest offenders, even garlic and onions. It's only available online. Go to Zellmans.com, Zelmins, Zellmans.com, code FRESH for 15% off.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Madam President, Reverend Terry Hord Owens, the President and General Minister of the Disciples of Christ Church here in the United States and in Canada, is our very special contributing host during this period. Madam President, welcome forward to the show.
Well, thank you. It's always good to be here.
Madam President, I don't think there's a person with a bigger heart in the philanthropic community than Bill Gates. He just gave his wife an additional $8 billion to her private philanthropic foundation, in large measure because he is particularly proud and excited about the resources that she has been providing to historically Black colleges and universities, and making Mrs. Gates's foundation one of the premier funding mechanisms for Black education, Black college, and advancement, not only in the United States, but quite frankly, in the history of the world. Your thoughts on this season of giving, particularly in light of the DOGE cuts and an administration that seems to be turning its back on its historical commitments to overcome negative action against minorities?
I'm thrilled with not only Melinda Gates, but also for her ability to leverage that divorce to get what she needed. There was a line in that old movie, The First Wives Club, where Ivana Trump has just divorced Donald Trump, as she's telling these women in the movie what to do. She says, "Don't get even, get everything." And I feel that Melinda Gates here, she didn't get everything, but she got what she needed and what her focus was on. And of course, what she's already done with HBCU contributions is certainly stellar, building up not only the sustainability of those institutions, but reinforcing the notion that those institutions are legitimate educational institutions in our country and are necessary to a healthy society. And Bill learned about philanthropy from Warren Buffett, who apparently just recently retired, I think, last week. And Warren is giving away, most of his wealth. Scott, what's her name? Melinda Scott, Jeff Bezos's ex-wife, also has been making huge gifts with the settlements and the money that she's obtained in the divorces. So we don't have enough capacity, I don't think. And as I tell people all the time, the faith community cannot fill these gaps. We don't have that kind of capacity. and maybe multiple Bill Gateses might come close to doing this. But again, we've got to have coalitions and courageous people. Statistics tell us there are more billionaires than ever before, but where are their priorities? Are they building ultra mega yachts the way Jeff Bezos is doing? Or what are they doing with their money? How are they focusing their bounty for the good of others, which really serves us all? We've lost that sense of my pastor in Indianapolis used to say, Lord, make me rich so I can bless somebody. And I promise you, if I were rich, that's exactly what I would do. But we've lost those values that would say, let me take what I have because God has blessed me, allow me to be a blessing. And even if you don't have a faith perspective, just the idea of sharing and doing what is good for your common humanity. If we had more billionaires, the fact that you can give away 8 billion and still be okay, that's just amazing. It wouldn't take that much to replace a lot of what's happening with Doge, but if more of these people have these kinds of priorities, we could do it. The faith community, churches doing what they can in their neighborhoods, it's just not enough.
In the civil religion of the United States, I see paying taxes as a form of tithing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard for me to let the entire burden for all that's wrong in society to be left to any 501c3, let alone multi-billion-dollar 501c3s. And I'm not suggesting or knocking that they're not doing good work. If
Right.
Melinda Gates called me tomorrow, I'd set up a black college. Yes, I'd be very grateful.
And you could do that well, sir. You could do that well.
Or point her in the direction of some that need to be funded. But to my
Right.
point, when I pay my taxes, I expect the government to feed hungry people with it.
Correct.
I mean, Warnock says that a vote is a kind of prayer that we cast for the world that we want to build. But that's the way I see taxes. I see taxes as a form of paying it forward, building good schools, teaching
Okay.
children multiple languages. My contribution to civilization are the taxes that I pay. I did not pay, and maybe we should find a way to designate what is in where my tax dollar goes. For example, I did not want my tax dollars to build the Gerald R. Ford U.S. aircraft carrier, the largest in the world and presently in the Caribbean. I'd like my money to go towards providing for the least of these and people who don't have much. And so increasingly, we are relying upon the private sector to do what government of, for, and by the people is supposed to do to keep our country civilized. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the reason that our budgets are in such great deficits, federal budgets, is because the wealthy and ultra wealthy are not paying their fair share. We have enough in this country, as you say all the time, the wealthiest country in the history of the world. If everyone pays their share, their proportionate share, we have enough so that people can earn jobs that allow them to provide for their families, that allow them to live in housing that's safe and clean and comfortable, warm in the winter, cold in the summer, to send children to public schools that don't vary in terms of resources based on your zip code. I have a family member who lived in Northbrook, and they took their child out of a Christian school and put them in a public school. And it was like, oh my goodness, Northbrook, here we are. Every child gets a Chromebook. Every child, public school is great. I said, public school depends on where you live. It's wonderful in Northbrook, but take a neighborhood in Inglewood, 60628 zip code. I hear these days they may get Chromebooks, but they don't have all the science facilities. They don't have the books. They can't pay the teachers that they need. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul every time we turn around. And other neighborhoods, the kids are it's an embarrassment of riches. That's not what this country was built on, they say, right? So I'm always saying, let's be who we say we are. Let's be the church we say we are. Let's be the country we say we are. But everybody should be paying their fair share, and if nothing else, to see it as a return for the opportunities that you say, oh, everybody can make it in the United States. Well, for those opportunities, you owe it back to this society to make sure that everyone else has those same opportunities.
Madam President, speaking of opportunities, just a few months ago, or a little less than a month ago, we saw 8 Democrats essentially bolt the Democratic Party to end the government shutdown, to the dismay of the resistance movement in the United States to ensure that the Affordable Care Act would not be sidelined. An interesting coalition of Democrats and Republicans came together to pass the Affordable Care Act in the House of Representatives with a 3-year extension this past week. And now we have GOP senators reviving Obamacare subsidies and calling it putting America first. Ernest Krim in the last hour said, what a difference a day makes. Madam President,
Yes.
your thought on the new movement amongst Republicans and where you think the heat is coming from.
I think the heat is coming from their constituents. Long ago, when people were lobbying and advocating against, I call it the horrible, awful bill, not the big, beautiful bill, the horrible, awful bill. Statistics tell us that by the numbers, first of all, there are more people on Medicaid than there are Black people. It's the percentage of Black people on Medicaid that draws the attention. But there are more people in red states who are being hurt by the removal of these subsidies and this ridiculous exponential increase in healthcare premiums. And I think it is their own people who are finally getting through to them to help them understand that this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's not a right or a left issue. This is a matter of right versus wrong and people being able to have health care. Because if people can't go to the doctor, people are paying thousands of dollars in premium and can't go to the doctor, can't get their medication. I mean, if I didn't have health care, I'm a diabetic. I wouldn't be able to afford the medication that I have to take if I had to just pay it out of my own pocket. Insulin, some forms of insulin cost $1,000 a month without. And as much as people talk about Ozempic for weight loss, that drug was initially approved for diabetics, and you couldn't get it because people who could pay the $1,000 for weight loss were getting it. But we've really got to listen, and the people have to start speaking up. And I think that's what's happened with some of these GOP senators who are finally hearing and paying attention. I heard Ernest say in the first hour, it is the Affordable Care Act. They called it Obamacare in order to try to denigrate it, but it's the Affordable Care Act. And if there are issues with it, then they've never offered a solution as much as they've tried to destroy it. They haven't offered anything to make it better. Healthcare insurance in this country was designed as a force for good. It was never designed to create profit for health insurance companies. And having spent some time with the Blue Cross Blue Shield system, I repent, because there was a time when I would get bonuses. Healthcare, I was there during that time when Blue Cross went from being a nonprofit to a for-profit enterprise all across the country, with Anthem being the initiator of consolidating a lot of these Blue Cross plans and moving towards for-profit. We've got to also not just pass laws for subsidies. We got to do some tough work. And again, this is what's going to call for some courageous corporate citizens to understand we got to change the healthcare system in order to make it affordable for the American people. It should not be the case that people are making billions and billions of dollars on the backs of people who can't afford to go to their doctor.
I was reflecting upon the work that I did while I was in Congress, and I did this Google search. And I'm encouraging those who can hear my voice to do this Google search right now. If you ask Google the right question, AI will actually provide a fairly fascinating answer. This is the question I want you to ask Google. What is the difference between Jesse Jackson Jr.'s constitutional right for health care of equal high quality for all Americans and the Affordable Care Act and the single-payer healthcare system? What is the difference between Jesse Jackson Jr.'s constitutional amendment guaranteeing every American the right to health care of equal high quality and the Affordable Care Act and the single-payer healthcare system? When you hear the answer, you're going to be baffled by what Democrats and Republicans have ultimately been doing by calling both of these things rights when in fact they are not. The answer will be, I think, nothing less than astounding for those of you who have time to just Google search that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are moving this mountain on Monday, the faith not to fall, with Reverend Dr. Terry Hord Owens, the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Terry Hord Owens.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry says there's a deep mistrust of federal agencies following last week's deadly ICE shooting.
There is deep mistrust because so many of the things that we are hearing are not true.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, Fry called for state agencies to join the investigation as protests continue over the death of 37-year-old Renee Good and local leaders dispute the federal version of events. President Trump is criticizing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, saying it led to white people, quote, being very badly treated, end quote, and caused reverse discrimination. He pointed to the Supreme Court's 2023 affirmative action ruling to defend his stance. And Tiana Taylor made history at the 83rd Annual Golden Globe Awards, winning Best Supporting Actress for one battle after another. In her speech, she shared an empowering message about self-worth and representation for women of color. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Keep your radar up on probable changes coming with the Chargers, especially on offense. The Chargers have lost 3 straight first-round games in the playoffs. The Chargers' last playoff win was in the 2018 season at Baltimore. In 2 playoff games with head coach Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers have scored a combined 15 points. Just 3 field goals and 1 touchdown. Offensive coordinator Greg Roman should get a head start on updating his resume. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites over the Chicago Bears. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford is dealing with a sprained finger on his throwing hand. He said he's going to play Sunday in Chicago. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, South Carolina, 15-1 UCLA, Texas, and Vanderbilt. UCLA moved up a spot from 4th to 3rd. USC, which has lost 3 straight, dropped out of the top 25. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me, how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on this, the 16th anniversary of the earthquake in Haiti, where more than 300,000 people perished. Our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our soul, and our pocketbooks should continue to support all of these organizations that are doing the work on the ground in Haiti in this, the 16th anniversary of the most devastating earthquake in the country's history. Before the break and before I bring our very special contributor back on, I asked the question, what is the difference between Jesse Jackson Jr.'s constitutional right to health care of equal high quality and the Affordable Care Act and the single-payer healthcare system? And this is what artificial intelligence says. The primary difference is that Jesse Jackson Jr.'s proposal was for a constitutional amendment that would guarantee health care as a fundamental, enforceable right, while the Affordable Care Act is a federal statute that uses market mechanisms to expand health insurance access, and a single-payer system is a specific funding model for universal health care that is not currently in the law in the United States. The Jackson proposed amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which stated that all persons shall enjoy the right to health care of equal high quality, was never passed. If ratified, it would establish health care as a fundamental, inalienable human right, placing an affirmative obligation on the government to ensure its provision, potentially overriding state laws and making equal high quality a legal standard. It aimed to create permanent foundation guarantee that transcends political changes, Democrats, Republicans, and various Congresses and legislative acts. And lastly, but not limited, in essence, Jackson Jr.'s proposal was about establishing an unquestionable legal foundation for healthcare as a right, while the ACA is just a law that increases access to insurance, and a single-payer system is a funding mechanism for universal coverage. Democrats and Republicans both have been missing the point. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and this is The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Dr. Terry Hord Owens on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, the J Lunch Club program. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. And I just, I entered that Google search and got a very similar answer. This is perhaps the human rights issue of the next decade. Seriously, I just know too much about the workings of healthcare insurance, and I, having worked with it, lived with it, helped prosecute fraud in it, etc. There's just too much that we need to do, and I think guaranteeing that right with a constitutional amendment is exactly the step that we need to take. The United States remains the only quote unquote developed country in the world that does not have some kind of comprehensive single payer system, and it's my grandma used to call things that she thought were just incompetent, evil, bad. She would just say it's pitiful, and I hear Grandma Jessie saying right now it's pitiful. It's just pitiful.
I think we're going to have a surprise guest on the show in just a few moments to comment on some thoughts about Haiti. But before we get to that guest, I did want to ask you the question about Donald Trump's efforts to remove the Federal Reserve Board chairman. And as you know, that impacts mortgages, it impacts credit cards, it impacts loans, it impacts everything disproportionately for women, particularly African-American women, but certainly for the poor in our nation. Payday lending, it impacts every single interest rate known to our system. Your concern, Madam President, about the idea that the Federal Reserve Board could end up being compromised under the Trump regime?
My concern is that we know that Trump's concerns are not for ordinary people. He seeks to enrich banks and other financial institutions who, as we saw with the financial crisis that Barack Obama had inherited, part of the problem was lack of accountability. I was glad to see Mr. Powell in the news today putting out a statement and a video and indicating that he doesn't intend to remain silent. The longer that corporate and economic interests are complicit, either vocally or silently, we stand in with the real possibility that our systems of accountability, which is required in a democracy, we can't have rights and liberties without balancing that with accountability to one another in the broader society. So that's my concern, and that's my fear. But I am grateful to see that Mr. Powell has come to understand that being silent is not right now the diplomatic or appropriate thing to do. Right now, if you believe in anything, if you believe in these rules and these norms in the law, the rule of law and the Constitution, you must speak up or you will be complicit with their destruction.
Our very special guest during this show is now Millie Phaeton. Millie is a Jesse Jackson Jr. show, #1 contributor from Haiti on the ground. Millie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great, thank you, Millie. Millie, we have about 3 minutes before we come forward. Can you share with us how the people of Haiti are handling this 16th anniversary since the devastating earthquake?
Yeah, it's always a bittersweet time. Obviously, it was definitely a devastating time for the Haitian diaspora, just everywhere across the world. Like Haitians are spread across the world, so we remember it every January 12th, especially in light of all that's still happening in Haiti today with the gang taking over Port-au-Prince. So we're fighting to get our country back to what it once was, a place where Haitians all over, and really just all kind of cultures came and enjoyed our country. It's a beautiful country if you haven't been. There's still parts of Haiti that are very safe to go to, so I encourage everybody to visit places like Cape Haitian, which is the second largest city in Haiti outside of Port-au-Prince. Still very much a city that is welcoming nations, and festivals happening all the time. But we're fighting to get the capital back to what it once was.
Millie, you went to Haiti in 2010 during that period. Can you share with us what you saw? We have about just 2 minutes before we come forward.
Yeah, just devastations. I mean, all over, almost, close to 300,000 lives lost. About 1 million people displaced. So just a devastating sight to see. Especially again in a city that was so vibrant at one time. But I got to spend about 3 months there, just trying to meet the needs of the people, which the biggest needs was tents and stuff at the time. And so, we continue to try to send resources because obviously it's still a lot of people that are displaced now, and in light of the gang activity that's been happening.
We have about 1 minute and 30 seconds before we come forward. Madam President, do you have a question of Millie Payton?
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, perhaps ask how best can organizations like mine, I lead a multiracial denomination, Disciples of Christ, and we partner with a lot of ministries there on the ground. How best can people of faith continue to support? Are there certain organizations you recommend or not recommend?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the best organizations is Hope for Haiti. You can find them, online. And then there's another organization led by Dr. Bertrude. You can find her online too, and I can send the links to the show. Those are the two go-to that I always send people
Mhm.
to. They've been vetted. They've been just long-standing supports and stuff on the ground in Haiti, way before the earthquake happened
Yeah.
and stuff. So those are the two that I always send people to.
Millie, I hope you'll stay with us. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're getting a report from the ground in Haiti. I know that Millie is probably here in the United States at this point, but more on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward on the 16th anniversary of the earthquake in Haiti that killed nearly 300,000 people.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Febreze. New Febreze Air Mist has 50% more odor fighters and up to 30% more fragrance than the old formula. So now you can take on 100% more stinky odors, like sweaty gym bags, greasy cooking smells, and the after effects of the dog rolling around in something. Just spray, and new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me, how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All of these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is the Faith Not the Fall with Reverend Terry Howard Owens. Reverend Owens, we have Millie Faton, our Haitian contributor, just for another moment or two. Maybe you have another question you'd like to ask me.
Sure. Can you educate us on what's happening with Haitians and TPS? What's been the impact of that? And are there other ways in which we can engage in advocacy to change that situation?
Yeah, that TPS protection is said to be expiring in February. So, the biggest resource have been attorneys who are trained.
Millie, you're breaking up just a little bit.
So that's the biggest resource that we need. So, we're asking our communities, hey,
Millie, I think we have a bad connection, so I'm going to have to disconnect Millie. But I think she said that one of the biggest challenges that she has had and that they have had is with the temporary protective status. Did you want to expound upon that, Madam President?
Yeah, and I think I heard her say that legal resources are one of the biggest needs. And I think organizations that have access to legal resources that can make them available. We, for example, have in our denomination an immigration attorney who is there to assist persons to at least help them triage their case. They can't handle the full legal workload, but I do encourage nonprofits who provide legal assistance in the immigration space not to forget Haitians and other populations, particularly Haitians, who that TPS status has been in place for so many years. After 15, 16 years, it's hard to imagine some folks going back, but legal support for folks to help them navigate an increasingly complex immigration system is going to be really important. And I know that organizations like ours will continue to advocate that TPS status is not removed from the Haitian population. Looked like Millie popped back in there for a second.
She did for just a moment. I think you're right. That's one of the great human rights issues of our day. And when one considers the history of what the Haitian people did for the United States, for the United States to not be for them at their hour of need, and it has been 16 years since their hour of need, is nothing short of astounding. And it's also a signal, I think, Madam President, of the decline of our civilization as well. We have not been a good neighbor.
Yeah. we have not been a good neighbor, and we are now explicitly naming countries where Black and brown people are in the majority, which is most of the world, actually, as S-hole countries. We have we're more willing, not that there's anything wrong with the wars that are happening in Ukraine and Russia. We're more concerned about Europe than we are about countries in Africa, in the Caribbean, that have been exploited for their natural resources. I watched a little of the hearing or meeting, I guess, that Trump was having with oil executives, and it just really sickened you to hear conversations about what they were ready to bring in and what they were ready to do, and this charade of, oh, we're going to sell the oil. You know, the Venezuelan people are still going to have access to those profits. They are going to make a lot of money, and that's at the heart of these issues. Can I still make money off of Haiti? If not, I'm not concerned. Can I still make money off of Sudan? If not, we don't have economic interests, human interests. We're not as concerned about. And that's been the big shift of the Trump administration, to take the U.S. away from its marginal. I mean, USAID was major, but we've always had to fight to make the United States accountable for human rights around the world. But at least that's what we said we were. And we tried to do some of that work, and now we're just like, well, we don't care, and that's okay. It's just not okay. We're going to pay a huge price across the world for our failure to be true to who we say we are.
Madam President, our producer has just shared with us that she has a clip from the Golden Globes that she'd like to play right now.
Disrespect invites disrespect. Violence incites violence. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose. It was that moment when the person asking to sit in the most respected seat in our country imitated a disabled reporter, someone he outranked in privilege, power, and the capacity to fight back. It kind of broke my heart when I saw it, and I still can't get it out of my head because it wasn't in a movie. It was real life. And this instinct to humiliate, when it's modeled by someone in the public platform, by someone powerful, it filters down into everybody's life because it kind of gives permission for other people to do the same thing.
Madam President, we have about 4 minutes before the end of our show. Your word.
You know, I have seen, I remember even watching Meryl Streep. She said that people in power giving permission to violate norms, to violate human rights, to use language, to just simply not care anymore. We're seeing all across our country language and actions. You know, people are saying the quiet part out loud. Racism had for many years, at least you couldn't say certain things. You couldn't openly believe or declare your belief for certain things. And now it's okay. You don't have to be in hushed rooms or say them in quiet text to one another. It's okay to say it out loud. And we're spouting off scripture, but we're practicing hate. And we're cloaking it all in some form of perverted, what people are claiming is Christianity, but violates everything that Jesus ever taught. That, as a Christian minister, is the most vile part of this, is that the way in which people are behaving, they're out of one half of their mouth spewing hate and disregard for one another, and out of the other side of the mouth claiming to be Christian, holding Bibles upside down, and standing with I'm not sure who these people are or who these ministers are that would lay hands on Trump and claim that he's a messenger from God. It's sickening. It really is, because it's just not right, and we have to be able to call these things and name what they are. And they're foul. They're evil. I have y'all have to pray for me in these last of 5 years of my term. I've got a lot of people in my church who agree with what Trump is doing. And we have denominations like mine. In my perusal or trolling, if you will, of social media while I'm on sabbatical, we did sign off on a joint letter between the United Church of Christ and Disciples of Christ opposing what happened in Venezuela. And there was all kinds of comments. The church should not be involved in politics. This is political. I don't know what's become of our denomination. This leadership is taking us down the wrong path. There were lots of people in support of it, but there are still people who believe that being Christian means being silent and just not having anything to do with what's happening to human beings. Jesus chose to read from Isaiah 61. Spirit of the Lord is upon me to set at liberty those who are captive. Jesus said his job was to free the oppressed, take care of poor people, and to create a different society. Jesus chose that and said that. So I've got to follow what Jesus says. And I think that's where hope must lie. Of all people of faith would be true to who they say they are and build coalitions unlike we've ever seen before. There is hope that we can turn this thing around, but we can't be silent. We can't be silent.
Madam President, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
I'm so looking forward to the year that we're going to spend with Reverend Terry Hord Owens over the course of the new year, right here on Mondays in the Faith Not to Fall. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA